Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready to supercharge those English skills?
Sounds exciting.
It is. We're diving deep into how tech can really boost your English using two sources. An article chock full of practical tools and some research on how families can play a huge role.
I'm all ears.
The goal here is to figure out what works best for you, the listener, and show you how to make it a part of your everyday life.
Like building your ultimate language learning kit.
Exactly. Picture a toolbox, right? But instead of screwdrivers, it's packed with apps, platforms, YouTube channels, even things like AI chatbots and VR. It's amazing.
What fascinates me is how tech allows you to actually use the language, not just study grammar rules in a book.
So true. Okay, let's crack open this toolbox.
Yeah.
You've heard of Duolingo? Yeah. It's super popular. But have you ever thought about why it works so well?
It's like a game, right? Points, rewards, even a bit of a story as you learn.
Right. It's more fun than memorizing verb conjugations from a textbook. What about Memrise? That one's supposed to be great for vocabulary.
Memrise is all about using memory tricks to make those words stick. Mnemonics, vivid imagery, even humor.
So it's not just about brute force memorization.
Not at all. You're building connections in your mind. And if you're ready to actually speak, Hello Talk is amazing. It connects you with native speakers who want to learn your language.
It's like having a language exchange buddy right in your pocket. What about Rosetta Stone? I feel like I've heard that name forever.
Rosetta Stone aims for immersion, learning through context, using pictures and audio. They've even got a speech recognition feature so you can nail your pronunciation.
Speaking of pronunciation, so many awesome YouTube channels can help with those tricky English sounds.
Oh, totally. Like Rachel's English. She breaks down the sounds visually, shows you how to move your tongue and mouth.
It's like having a personal pronunciation coach. I remember our article talked about shadowing, too.
Ah, shadowing. Listen to a clip and repeat it as closely as you can. Mimic their pace, their intonation.
Like you're trying to sync up perfectly.
Exactly. You can even use YouTube videos with transcripts to make it easier. Builds fluency and improves pronunciation all at once.
Okay, so we've got tools for vocab, grammar, pronunciation. What about just immersing yourself in English, even passively?
Podcasts and audiobooks are amazing for that.
Any recommendations for our listeners? I love a good podcast.
All Ears English is specifically made for English learners.
Cool. But even podcasts on topics you love, even if they're not about English, can help, right?
Right. Repeated exposure, even passively, makes your brain learn faster.
We've covered a lot of ground. We've got tools for pretty much every aspect of learning. But what about actually speaking with other people? That's where a lot of people hit a wall.
It can feel scary. That's where platforms like italki come in. You can find tutors or conversation partners, schedule sessions, get feedback, all that.
Like having a personal language coach, but maybe less expensive and more convenient.
And don't forget about social media. Join English learning groups. Follow pages with tips. Heck, even create your own content in English.
So true. Surrounding yourself with the language, connecting with other learners.
It can help overcome the fear of making mistakes, which holds so many people back.
Earlier, you mentioned AI tools, which honestly still sound kind of futuristic to me.
Chatbots like ChatGPT are a big one. You can have full-blown conversations with them, get grammar explanations, even feedback on your writing. It's amazing.
Wow, like a 247 conversation partner. What other AI tools are out there?
There are apps that use AI to analyze your pronunciation and give personalized feedback.
It seems like AI is really changing how we can learn languages.
And don't forget the little devices we carry around every day, smart assistants. Ask them for definitions, practice pronunciation with commands, set reminders in English.
Like having a mini tutor living in your phone.
I think what's most incredible is how technology lets us personalize language learning like never before. But we can't forget about the human element. Our second source really emphasizes how crucial family support is, especially for kids.
It's not just about the classroom, right? It's about creating that supportive environment at home.
The research suggests giving kids homework that needs them to interact with someone at home, like interviewing a family member in English or describing something to a sibling.
So smart. It makes it feel more real, more meaningful.
And even parents who don't speak English can be huge supporters. Reading aloud in their language, setting up a reading nook, encouraging English media.
It's about building that language-rich environment, whatever languages are spoken at home.
Schools can chip in too by offering open computer lab time for families to practice together, using some of these tech tools.
What a great idea. It brings school and home together.
And this is important. That connection isn't just about grades. It builds confidence and reduces anxiety for the learner.
Making language learning a positive experience for everyone involved.
Exactly. When kids feel supported at home and school, they're more likely to embrace the challenges and really dive in.
Wow, we've covered so much ground.
Hmm.
From AI chatbots to family reading time, the possibilities seem endless.
It can be a bit overwhelming, right? But don't worry, we'll break it all down in the next part of our deep dive and help you figure out what tools are right for you.
Stay tuned.
Okay, so back to boosting those English skills with tech. It can feel overwhelming with so many options, like you said.
It really is a lot, like walking into a huge library, right? So many books. Where do you even start?
That's a great way to put it. And just like in a library, you don't have to read every book. It's about finding what interests you, what you need right now.
So how do we help our listeners do that? Navigate this world of language learning tech and pick the right tools.
First, remember, this is a journey, not a race. Take those small steps, enjoy the progress, and find the fun in it.
I love that. It's not about becoming fluent overnight. It's about enjoying the whole process.
Exactly. And tech can be an awesome partner on that journey. But just like with any partner, you got to choose wisely.
What are some things to think about when choosing these tech tools?
Well, how do you like to learn? Do structured lessons and game-like challenges work for you? Or do you prefer something more immersive, like podcasts or maybe even VR?
It makes sense that everyone learns differently.
Right. And what are your goals? Want to improve conversations, master grammar, grow your vocabulary, maybe a bit of everything?
Having a clear idea of what you want to achieve is key.
Absolutely. And don't forget about your own interests. If you love travel, find resources with travel vocab and scenarios. Big movie fan. Watch films in English with subtitles.
It makes learning so much more enjoyable when it connects to your passions.
Exactly. As you explore these tools, pay attention to what grabs you, what keeps you going, what feels effective. Try different things till something clicks.
It's like finding the right pair of shoes.
Yeah.
They have to fit just right. But what if someone's just starting out on their English journey? Where should they begin?
I always say start with a good base. Grammar, vocab, and pronunciation. There are great tools for all of those.
Okay, let's break that down. What are some good resources for getting that grammar down pat?
Apps like Duolingo and Babbel are great for structured learning. Bite-sized lessons, breaking down the rules. Plus, they usually make it fun, like a game.
Especially helpful for visual learners who like things organized and clear.
Absolutely. For vocabulary, I really like Memrise and Quizlet. They use these clever memory techniques, and they're gamified too, so it doesn't feel like a chore.
I've used Quizlet. It's so versatile. You can make your own flashcards or use sets others have created.
Exactly. And honestly, even old school flashcards work wonders. Doesn't matter if they're paper or digital, that repetition really helps you remember.
It's like you're strengthening those memory muscles. Now, pronunciation. That's a tough one for many English learners.
You're right, it can be tricky, but there's tons of help out there. YouTube channels like Rachel's English are fantastic. She shows you visually how to make the sounds, where to put your tongue.
Like having a speech therapist right on your screen.
And there are apps that use AI to give you personalized feedback on your pronunciation. Record yourself. Get instant analysis.
Wow, tech is really changing the game.
Oh, yeah. And don't underestimate just listening to English being spoken naturally. Podcasts, audiobooks, even movies and TV shows. It all helps train your ear.
It's like surrounding yourself with the language, letting it sink in. But what about actually speaking? That's a huge hurdle for a lot of people.
I totally get it. It can be scary to put yourself out there, but it's so important for becoming fluent.
So how do we help our listeners get over that fear and start speaking with confidence?
Remember, mistakes are part of learning. Everyone makes them. Don't be afraid to stumble, mispronounce things, get the grammar wrong. It's all good.
It's like learning to ride a bike, right? You're going to fall a few times before you get it.
Exactly. The more you practice, the more comfortable you'll become. Tech can create a safe space for practice, too. Chat with a chatbot, record yourself speaking, or find a language partner online.
So dip your toes in the water, little by little, and that confidence will grow. But motivation can dip too. What do you suggest when someone hits that wall, that language learning plateau?
Plateaus happen to everyone. It's like hitting pause, not stop. Maybe you need to shake things up. Try a new method. Change your study routine. Even just take a break.
It's not always about pushing harder. Sometimes it's about listening to what you need.
And having a supportive community helps a ton. Talking to other learners, sharing struggles, celebrating wins. It keeps you going and prevents that feeling of being alone.
Like having your own cheerleading squad. Now, fluency, that's a goal for many English learners, but it can seem so far off. How can tech help people move past the basics and get closer to that fluency?
Fluency is about communicating easily and naturally, without overthinking grammar rules or searching for words. It's like you're dancing with the language.
That's a beautiful image.
Yeah.
But how do we get to that point where it feels like a dance and not a clumsy stumble?
One key is exposure to lots of different words and ways of putting sentences together. And we've got so much for that now. Podcasts, audiobooks, movies, TV shows, online articles, it's all out there.
Like a buffet of language.
Exactly. And as you immerse yourself in all that, you naturally pick up new things. Words, phrases, even those little cultural things that make the language come alive.
But it's not just about passively taking it all in, right?
Yeah.
We need to practice speaking, too.
Oh, for sure. Have conversations whenever you can, even if they're short and simple at first. Chat with a partner, with a chatbot. Even record yourself. The more you speak, the better you'll get.
Like any skill, the more you practice, the stronger you become.
Don't be afraid to challenge yourself either. Talk about things you find interesting, even if you don't have all the fancy vocab yet. Paraphrase, use gestures, even draw pictures if you have to.
It's about finding ways to express yourself, even if you haven't mastered everything perfectly.
Right. And remember, fluency is a journey, not a destination. There will be ups and downs, times where you feel stuck, and then those breakthroughs. Just keep moving forward.
And most importantly, have fun. Language learning should be joyful, not a chore.
Speaking of joy, I'm curious about your experiences with tech and language learning. Any tools or strategies that have been particularly helpful for you?
Language exchange platforms have been amazing. Connecting with people from all over, practicing my speaking, learning about their cultures. I've even made some great friends that way.
It's incredible how technology can connect us like that.
It really is. And I'm also a huge fan of immersive learning. Podcasts, audiobooks, movies, TV shows, they've been so valuable for picking up the nuances of language and culture.
It's like you're creating a full sensory experience surrounding yourself with the language.
Exactly. And I love using tech to create my own content, too. I have a blog where I write about language learning. That process of writing really solidifies my understanding.
It's like turning language learning into a form of creative expression. Now I think it's time we dive into a topic that's been getting a lot of attention lately. Artificial intelligence and its impact on learning languages.
AI. Now that's a whole other world of possibilities. I'm ready to explore that.
Me too. Let's start with AI-powered chatbots. We touched on them briefly before, but they've come a long way thanks to advancements in natural language processing.
Now, for those who aren't familiar, can you explain what natural language processing is and how it relates to these chatbots?
Of course. Natural language processing, or NLP, is a field of AI that focuses on helping computers understand, interpret, and generate human language.
So basically, teaching computers to speak our language.
You got it. And AI chatbots are a perfect example. They understand your questions, they answer in a way that feels natural, and they can even give you feedback on your grammar and pronunciation.
Like having a virtual language partner who's always available.
Exactly. What excites me most about AI chatbots is how they can tailor the experience to you. They adapt to your level, track your progress, and suggest areas to focus on.
It's like having a learning buddy that evolves and grows with you. But what about those of us who learn best by actually talking with real people? Can AI really replace that?
It's a good question, and one that people are really debating. While AI chatbots are great for practice and feedback, I don't think they can truly replace that nuance, that back and forth you get with a real person.
I agree. That connection with another human being, sharing the joy of learning a language, that's special.
Absolutely. But I see AI as a great addition to human interaction. Extra practice, personalized tips, and it can even help you get over that initial fear of speaking.
It's like a training buddy who's always ready to help you up your game.
And the cool thing is, AI is always getting better. Who knows what these tools will be able to do in a few years? It's exciting to think about.
It really feels like we're on the edge of a language learning revolution, and tech is leading the way. But it's important to remember that language isn't just about words and rules, right? It's also about culture, history, values.
Absolutely. You can't separate a language from its culture. To understand one, you need to understand the other.
So how can we use tech to explore that cultural side of language learning?
Virtual travel is one way. We can explore ancient ruins, wander through bustling markets in other countries, even climb Mount Everest, all from home.
It's like having a passport to the world, right on your computer screen.
And a lot of these virtual travel experiences are interactive. You can chat with local guides, learn about customs, even practice your language with virtual locals.
Like having a personal tour guide, minus the jet lag. What about connecting with real people from different cultures?
There are online programs specifically for cultural exchange. Connect with people, learn about their lives, and even build friendships.
And social media is amazing for that too, right?
Yeah.
Following accounts from different cultures, joining groups dedicated to cultural exchange.
It's like having a global network of people to learn from.
It seems like technology can really help bridge those cultural gaps.
I think so. By immersing ourselves in other cultures, we learn to appreciate the amazing diversity out there, and that enriches our understanding of language, too.
But let's be real. Tech isn't some magic solution, is it?
You're right, it's a powerful tool, but it's only as good as the person using it.
Like having a fancy kitchen with all the latest gadgets. Doesn't mean you automatically know how to cook.
You need the motivation, the dedication to learn and grow.
Exactly. And language learning is a lifelong thing, really. There's
Right.
always something new to learn, to explore.
It's an adventure that never ends. Speaking of adventures, I think it's time to welcome a special guest who's used technology to boost their own language skills.
I'm excited to hear their story. Welcome to the show. We're so excited to hear about your journey with tech and language learning.
Yes, tell us a bit about it. What languages have you learned and how has technology played a role?
Well, I grew up speaking Spanish, but I started learning English when I was around 10. Back then, it was mostly textbooks and classrooms, the traditional way.
That makes sense. Technology has really exploded in the language learning world since then.
It really has. What first got me hooked on English were movies, TV shows, music,
Yeah.
all in English. I
Yeah.
just loved it and wanted to understand everything without relying on subtitles.
The power of entertainment. So how did technology start to become part of your learning?
As I got older, language learning apps became a game changer for me. They made it fun and easy to squeeze in practice, no matter how busy I was. I used Duolingo and Babbel a lot, which really helped me build a solid foundation in grammar and vocab.
Those are both so popular, they must be doing something right.
Definitely. I also use flashcard apps like Quizlet and Anki to learn new words. Spaced repetition is amazing for memorizing things.
Could you explain what spaced repetition is for those who might not know?
Sure. It's a technique where you review information at longer and longer intervals. This helps move what you've learned from your short-term memory to your long-term memory. So basically, the app shows you a flashcard more often when you're first learning a word, and then less and less as you get more familiar with it.
That makes so much more sense than just cramming before a test.
Right. And for pronunciation, YouTube was a lifesaver. Channels like Rachel's English and English with Lucy felt like having a personal pronunciation coach right there on my phone.
Those channels are fantastic. They make those tricky sounds so much easier to understand and practice.
Exactly. And then there were podcasts and audiobooks. I could listen to those while commuting or doing chores. It was a great way to immerse myself, even when I didn't have time to sit down and study.
That passive immersion can be so powerful, just letting your brain absorb the language in the background.
Totally. But at some point, I realized that if I really wanted to be fluent, I needed to start speaking more. That's when I discovered language exchange platforms and online communities.
It's a big step. Tell us about that experience.
It was amazing. I connected with people from all over the world who were learning Spanish. We'd have conversations, swap language learning tips, and even teach each other about our cultures. It really made the language come alive.
It sounds like a wonderful way to push yourself out of your comfort zone and actually use what you've learned.
It was. It's incredible how technology can bring people together from all over the place, all united by that shared passion for learning languages.
It really is. Looking back, what advice would you give to someone who's just starting out with language learning?
I'd say dive into the world of technology. There are so many incredible tools out there that make learning more accessible, more engaging, and honestly, more fun than ever before. Experiment, find what works for you, and just enjoy the journey.
That's great advice, and it's important to remember tech is just a tool. The real magic comes from you. Your dedication, your curiosity, your willingness to try new things.
Couldn't agree more. Language learning is an adventure, and technology can be an amazing guide and companion along the way.
Thank you so much for sharing your story with us today. It's been a pleasure.
The pleasure was all mine.
And to all our listeners, we hope this deep dive into the world of tech and language learning has given you some new ideas and inspiration. The key is to find what works for you and enjoy the process.
Happy learning, everyone.